Hello everyone. So it's day 4 of the sample puzzles today. Now yesterday I had asked one question to all of you. Have you spotted the pattern in the names of all our sample puzzles? There's something very common to all of them. Let me know if you found that out. Okay, now moving on to the sample puzzles for today. So again, I think we had 3 different sample puzzles. So let me quickly share my screen. Okay, here we go. All right, so these are the 3 puzzles that we had for day 4. For category A, we had Code Cracker, which was based on code languages. So how exactly you rearrange certain letters within a word and then come up with a code language. For categories B and C, we had Crying Crow, which had something to do with numbers. I'll come to that in just a bit. And then for our senior categories, D and E, we had something called as Uncover Untruth, a very interesting puzzle. So we'll come to that also after we're done with Code Cracker and Crying Crow. So for now, let's begin with Code Cracker. I will quickly make a whiteboard here. Yeah, so let's begin. Now, what was this puzzle all about? A girl wrote a few words in a code language she created all by herself. Now, if she was a grade 1 or 2 girl, that's fantastic. Okay, if you are in grade 1 and 2 and you can come up with your code language, you are doing amazing. You are really good with your logical capabilities. But let's see what this girl was doing. So she wrote sun as nus. Okay, I'll just write it here. S-U-N, and that became N-U-S. Okay. Then she had moon, which was written as noon. Okay. Now, looking at these, I am getting a feeling that maybe she's just written the words in the reverse order. So S-U-N, we always read from left to right, but if I read this word right to left, I will get N-U-S, and that's what has been written here. I will try that on moon as well. So if I read it from right to left, it is N-O-O-M. N-O-O-M. So looks like maybe what this girl is doing in this code language is that, she's just writing it in the reverse order. So instead of writing the spelling in the left to right order that we always do, she has probably written them right to left. Now let's see if that happens for Earth as well. So Earth. Now if I have to write it in the reverse order, what I'll have to write? I'll have to write H first. Then comes T, then R, then A, and then E. Is this what she has? No. She has written Earth as H-A-R-T-E. So it looks like my logic was incorrect. So with sun and moon it worked, but with Earth it is not working. So let's see what do we have for Earth. I write them one beneath the other because that always helps us, identify some patterns. So that's one trick for all of you. Whenever you get these kinds of code language questions, you can probably write the words just one below the other so that you can find out, how exactly the words are, how exactly the letters are getting shuffled here and there. Okay. Now, I have written Earth and the code language that this girl had created that had Earth written as H-A-R-T-E. I've written them here. What I can actually observe here is A-R-T, A-R-T. These 3 letters are in the same place. So I'll just highlight those for you. Look at these 2 words, the original word and the code word, and you can see that ART, the middle 3 letters, they are at the same place. And what has also happened is that your first letter E has now become the last letter. And H, which was earlier the last letter, has now become the first letter. So maybe the logic that this girl has applied here is the letters in the middle, okay, the letters in the center, they will remain as it is. So we do not touch them at all and we just exchange. So whatever was first goes to the last place and vice versa. Okay, so first and last letter are only exchanging their places. So let's see, is this working for sun and moon as well? So in sun, so I have S as my first letter, N as my last letter. What remains in between is U. So let me see if that is working. So U is common, it's there in the center in both the words, the original word and the code word. And if you look at this, it looks to be correct. S, which was the first letter, has now become the last. And N, which was earlier the last, has now become the first. So, same pattern that we found out in Earth is working for Sun as well. So, if it is working for Moon as well, then we know, that, okay, that is the correct answer. Okay. So, let's find out what's happening in Moon. M is your first letter, N is your last letter. What remains in between is, the O, the two O's. Okay, so I will just highlight them again and their places are not being switched. Now, funny thing, because both of them are O, even if their places were switched, it would still have been OO. Okay, but let's look at the first and the last letter, corner letters, if I can call them. Now, M, which was initially the first letter, has become the last one here. And N, which was the last one, has become the first. Okay. So, the logic that this girl has used while creating this code language is all the letters in the center, they remain the same. It's only the first letter which goes and sits in the last position and the last letter which goes and sits in the first position. Okay. So maybe what you can also try to do here is try writing your own name in this code language. Okay. So I can do it for myself. So my name is Gayatri, Gayatri. What will I do? I will not worry about G and I right now. I will just write all the other letters exactly where they were. And now G, which was initially my first letter, would now become the last. And I, which was the last one, would become first. So from Gayatri, I become Iatrg. Okay, funny name there. Okay, so you can, try to come up with a similar code word for your own name. Okay, but now let's go back to our puzzle and see what were we supposed to do. So we had to find out the code words for Mars, Pluto and Saturn. Okay, so what was our logic? Fairly simple. Just the first letter and last letter get exchanged. Every other letter stays where it was. So A and R will be same and S will become my first letter. M will become my last letter. So Mars becomes Sarm. Okay. Let's try it for Pluto as well. Pluto. Now what will happen in Pluto? So Pluto is a 5-letter word similar to Earth. So the middle three, they will remain the same. L, U, T. And P, which was earlier the first, will now go to the last place. And O will become the first one. So Pluto becomes Olut. And similarly, let's do Saturn as well. So Saturn, which is a slightly bigger word, but if our logic is correct, then we don't really have to worry about the length of the word. Okay. Now, S and N are your corner letters. So let's not worry about them. We'll write all the other 4 letters here. Okay. So A, T, U, R come in their respective places. S goes to the last place and N goes to the first place. Okay, so Saturn becomes Natters. Okay, so maybe you can also do one more thing. Now the common theme we had here was planets. Okay, so maybe you can try doing this for Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, and all the other planets as well. So that's again, some activity for all of you today. Okay, now with that, let's head to the sample puzzle for category B and C. For category A, I'll be back with the day 5 sample puzzle solution tomorrow. Until then, you can try writing your own name in this code language, and you can write the names of all other planets as well. So that's all for code cracker. Let's quickly go to the next one, which is crying crow for grades 3 to 6. Okay, now there's a reason why we had kept this puzzle common for both the categories. We expect category C students, so grades 5 and 6, to be aware of the concept of prime numbers. We don't really expect grade 3 and 4 students to know that. Okay, but that's the interesting thing about this puzzle. You can solve it with or without the knowledge of prime numbers. Okay, so I'll just quickly make another whiteboard here. Let's hide code cracker and let's now focus on crying crow. Now, what happened here? A baby crow had collected many stones, but while playing with those, he accidentally dropped a few stones and started crying. When his mother asked him how many stones got dropped, he said the following. The number was more than 11 but less than 16. It does not appear in the tables of 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so now we know one thing for sure, that the number of stones that got dropped were in this range only. Okay, I will just write these numbers here. In fact, if you read this carefully, the number was more than 11. So 11 itself is also wrong. Okay, so 11 will not be a candidate for you. And it was less than 16. So 16 is also gone. Okay, because 16 is not less than 16. 16 is equal to 16. So your only options here are 12, 13, 14, 15. Okay, and then the tables. So it does not appear in the tables of 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, the longer way to solve this is just write all the numbers that you know come in the tables of 2, 3, 4, and 5. So if I write 2's table, I will have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20. Okay. Out of these, I can see 12 and 14 here. So what will I do? I'll just cut these also. So out of my 4 options, 2 are already gone. So 2's table has taken away 12 and 14 already. Because we know that the number of stones that got dropped, that number did not appear in the table of 2. So 12 and 14 being even numbers, they will appear in the table of 2. So they are definitely not our correct answers. Okay. Now similarly, let's see what all numbers we get in the table of 3. So you'll have 3, 6, 9, 12. So we already cut 12. But anyway, then next I have is 15. I don't actually need to go beyond 15 because after 15 I get 18, and anyway our number is less than 15. Okay, so I don't need to write the entire table till 30. Now I have 15 here. So what that means is 15 is gone. So you already had only 4 options, out of which 12 and 14 got removed when we wrote the table of 2, and when we wrote the table of 3, even 15 got removed. So your answer has to be 13. Okay, so that is how we expected grade 3 and 4 students to solve it. Okay, that's how you can think about it. Okay, I'm sure all of you know the tables of 2 and 3. You may not know a lot beyond that, but 2 and 3 is something all of you can. Okay, so this is how you could have thought about this. For the elder ones in this range, okay, so we also had this puzzle for category C, so that was grades 5 and 6. And grade 5 is typically when the concept of prime numbers is taught to you. So how you could have thought about this? Now, if the number is not going to appear in the table of 2, 3, 4, and 5, and it's a small number, right? It's in this 11 to 16 range. In fact, I would say 12 to 15 range, right? Because 11 and 16 are also not included. It's more than 11 and less than 16. So all you had to do was just, focus on these four numbers, 12, 13, 14, 15. And if it is a prime number, it would not come in any of the other tables, right? So 13 is a prime number, so you don't have to do it the long way. If you are aware of the concept of prime numbers, that's how you could have thought about this. But even if you did not, the longer way was always there. And there's nothing wrong in going by the longer method. It's just that, the reason why we had this question here was we wanted to, highlight this concept. Okay, so it's a mathematical concept that we had here. So prime numbers are those numbers which you will not find in any other tables, right? They do not have any other factors. So they are divisible only by 1 and then the number itself. So unlike 13, which is a prime number, it's divisible only by 1 and 13. 12 had a lot of factors. So 12 you can express as 2 into 6, 3 into 4. 14 is 2 into 7. 15 is 3 into 5. Okay. So these are not prime numbers. These are the composite numbers. 13 was the only prime number we had in these four options. And that's how you could have quickly gotten to the answer 13. Okay. So that's how, you can apply your knowledge of prime numbers in such real life questions. Okay. Now, you will never have a crow who's counting this way in real life. But the idea here is, that's how you can apply a concept you have learned in school in a context you may not have seen earlier. So I hope you all like this math question. And now let's move on to the next question, which is for categories D and E. So I'll erase all these drawings, scroll down to the next puzzle. Here it is. Okay. Now this was an interesting one, uncover untruth. So there was some logical reasoning, logical deduction. So those are the fancy terms you can use for this puzzle. So let's see what it was about. Okay. So there were 5 friends, A, B, C, D, and E, who were talking about their ages. Okay. However, one of these friends was lying while all the other 4, they spoke the truth. Okay. So, out of these 5, only one of them is going to speak something which is not true. Now we need to find out who that one person is. Okay. So let's see. So A has said, I am 7 years old. So we really don't know these 5 people. We don't know their ages. So right now I don't know anything about A. Okay. Then let me go to the next statement. So B says A and I are of the same age. Okay. So apparently A and B are of the same age. We don't know that just yet. Then C says sum of A's age and my age is same as sum of B's age and my age. A long sentence there. Let me just write it in mathematical terms. That would make it very easy. So sum of A's age, let's call A's age as A and my age. So this is C speaking. So A plus C, okay, because we have the sum of their ages. It is same as sum of B's age and my age. So this is what C is saying. The addition of A's age and C's age is same as the addition of B's age and C's age. Now, if A plus C is equal to B plus C, what it would actually mean is, if you just cut C from both the sides, it will also tell you A is equal to B. Okay, so A's age and B's age, they are the same. And that is what B was also mentioning. So B said A and I are of the same age. And C also said the same thing, right? C said it in a longer way. Okay, C said A's age and my age is equal to B's age and my age. So indirectly, if you're removing C's age, that actually means A and B are of the same age. So now we know for sure that only one of these 5 friends is lying. And if B and C are saying the same thing, they are definitely not lying. Okay. So I know whatever B has said is the truth. Whatever C has said is the truth. And what is the truth? A and B are of the same age. Now, whether that is 7-year-old or something else, that's something we don't know right now. Okay, we still have to evaluate. But we are very sure that B and C are definitely not our answer because they are saying the same thing. So either they had to be, both of them had to be saying the truth or both of them had to be lying. Now, because two people cannot be lying at the same time, we know B and C are not the liars. Okay, they are speaking truth. Okay, so A, D, and E, one of these three is lying. So we need to find out who it is. Now, D is saying A is the one who is lying, and E is saying D is the one who is lying. So something complicated there, they have lots of statements which are confusing. So let's just focus on A, D, and E only. We'll not worry about B and C at all. So now that B and C are out of the picture, let's just focus on A, D, and E. Now A says he or she is 7-year-old. I don't know if A is a girl or a boy. Okay. Then D is saying that A is the one who is lying and E says D is the one who is lying. So you actually have three options. One option is A is lying, another one is D is lying, and then the third option is E is lying. So what we can do here is we'll evaluate all these three scenarios one by one. Okay. So my first scenario is A is lying. Now, if A is lying, what it means is A is not 7-year-old. Okay, not 7-year-old. But it does not really matter as much. We are not worried about how old A is. Okay, then if A is lying, it means D and E both are speaking the truth. Okay, so what is D saying? D is saying A is the one who is lying. And because of our assumption that A is lying, then D statement becomes true. Okay, so we do not have to worry. So in that case, D statement is true. But now here comes a twist. E says D is the one who is lying. So if D is speaking the truth, D is not the liar. So whatever E is saying, that also becomes a lie because D has spoken the truth. Now, if someone says that D is not speaking the truth, that's definitely not correct. Okay. So E's statement will become false here. Now, the problem here is we've already assumed A is lying and then E is also lying. So A and E cannot lie together. Okay. Only one liar is allowed. So this assumption that A is the person who is lying is incorrect because it would mean A is lying, D is not lying because D is speaking the truth, but then E is also lying. Okay, so we do not want that to be the case. So this scenario itself is incorrect. Okay, so now we know that A is not the liar. So A is also speaking the truth. So now we know A is not lying. So what will we do here? We now have to find out who amongst D and E is lying. Okay, and I'll also do one thing. I'll put a tick mark next to A because now I know A is speaking the truth. All right. Now let's focus on the last two scenarios. So either you have D who is lying or E who's lying. Okay. I'll just erase this scenario because this scenario was incorrect. All right. Now our next scenario is D is lying. Now, if D is lying, what exactly is D saying here? D is saying that A is the one who is lying. Okay, so we know already that A has spoken the truth. So if someone is saying that A is the liar, then that person himself or herself is the liar. Okay, this can be a little confusing. Let's just focus one more time. We already know A is speaking the truth. A is not a liar. And then someone else comes and says, A is the liar. Now, just connect the two things together and you will know that A is speaking the truth. So, whosoever says that A is lying. Okay. So, if D is saying that A is the liar, then D himself or herself is the liar. Okay. So, that goes well with our assumption for the time being. Okay. And then what does E say? E says D is the one who is lying. Okay. Now again, our assumption was D is lying. So assuming this to be true, then E statement is also true because we are assuming that D is lying. Okay. So D is the liar and E is just stating the fact. Okay. So in that case, D becomes the liar and E has also spoken the truth. So looks like this is the correct answer. Okay. So your liar here is D. But just for the sake of understanding, I will evaluate the third option also. So our answer, the correct answer here is indeed D. But let's see what happens if we say that E is the liar. Okay. So I will erase this, and for the timing, I'll also erase these two marks here. Now let's assume E is lying. If E is lying, what happens? E has said that D is the one who is lying. So this statement itself is incorrect. So what would that mean? So if someone is lying, what you can do is just reverse the statement. So E says D is the liar. So if E is the liar, reverse this statement, it would mean D is not the liar. Okay. So D is then speaking the truth. Now, if D is speaking the truth, what is D's statement? D says A is a liar. Okay. And then this statement has to be true. So if that is the case, A will also have to be a liar because D is speaking truth. Okay. So again, what happens in this case is A and E are lying at the same time. And that's something which is not correct because we know there's only one person who's a liar. All other four are speaking the truth. So if D speaks the truth, then it contradicts our given conditions. Okay. So we know that D has to be the liar. E is speaking the truth. Okay. So this assumption again goes wrong because if you just evaluate all the statements, you would realize that E is lying and A is also lying. Okay. So that's the incorrect scenario. So the correct answer, as we just discussed earlier, was B and C were already out of the picture. They were speaking the truth because they were speaking the same thing. Then we figured out that A was also speaking the truth because if we assumed A as the liar, then we had another liar. Okay. A and E were lying together in that case. Okay. And then we tried the next scenario wherein D was the liar and that turned out to be correct. Okay. So D was the one whose statement was not true. Okay. D was the liar and E was speaking the truth. Okay. So that's how you had to solve. So, just a tip here, what you can do when you get questions like these, you will have to combine multiple statements together and then try and see, what exactly you can deduce taking two statements, three statements at a time. Individually, all five may not help you. But when you club two of them, when you club three of them, that's when it will help you get to the answer. All right, so that's all for today. We'll see you all again tomorrow with the day 5 solutions. If you have any other questions for us, do let us know. We hope you are enjoying the Puzzle Bee experience so far. The round 2 registrations shall begin tomorrow. So we hope to see you all in large numbers there. Wishing all the very best to all of you. Bye-bye.